Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make that skirt that you've seen at the beginning of the video, and during this tutorial we are going to be moving back and forth between the demonstration, which is the small portion of the stitch demonstration, as well as the construction of the skirt, and then the actual piece. So we shall be moving back and forth between these two pieces. This is the actual piece, as you can see. It's very big and it can't be captured within the footage, and this will help out a lot as we go along. So let's jump into the materials. If you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops, and all the links will be in the description box below. And then this skirt can be a perfect match for our previous tutorials. Some of them, I'll be sharing some images of this skirt paired up with some of the projects that we've done in the past, and the tutorials to those projects will also be linked in the description box below. So let's get started. So for the materials, you will need a 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a darning needle, and a measuring tape. And then for the yarn, you will need different colors. Actually, this is a project that you can use to make use of your scrap yarn. I have all this going on. I used different colors at different stages. At some point I was having two strands of two different colors, as you can see here. Then we have the plain colors and then the mixed up colors. So any scrap yarn that you have around, as long as the thickness is the same, should be able to work. So for me, I used a DK weight yarn, and for the yarns that were a bit thinner, I doubled the strand. For example, this one, I used a blue and a white fingering weight yarn. And then when it comes to these colors, still this is fingering weight yarn, and I used two strands for these colors. And then when it comes to the DK weight yarns that I decided to use for this skirt, I used one strand. And you can't see the difference between the thickness here and the thickness here, because here is doubled and then here is a single strand. So make sure whatever yarn that you decide to use, make sure you balance the thickness of the different colors, so that we can't tell apart the thickness of the different stripes or rows that we are going to use for our skirt. So get your yarn, get your scrap yarn box, and let's get started. All right, I'm going to first demonstrate a few things before we get started on the actual skirt. This skirt is worked, it's called the corner to corner stitch, or the C2C stitch, using a double crochet. So we start from one corner and we start growing diagonally. So literally we are going to have one line like this. I'm going to just draw a few faint lines that we are going to follow. So we have this horizontal line, and then we have the vertical line, but this stitch is literally worked diagonally. So we're going to start like this. So as we work, we are going to start working from here. This is row 1, then row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, row 7, row 8, and so on. And we are going to keep growing our panel diagonally. But as we grow this, we are going to grow the length of the skirt as well as the width of the skirt. So let me say this is, I'll consider this the length of the skirt and then the width of the skirt. So the first measurements that we are going to consider for this skirt are the hip measurement of the person that you're making this skirt for. And then we're also going to consider the total length of the skirt. So for me, the length of the skirt that I'll be doing is 43 inches. And the hip measurement will be 40 inches. Let's get started. We're going to work from this point all the way up. As we continue working, you'll notice that your panel is growing the same exact length onto the width as well as the length. Then at some point you will stop increasing one side, and then you'll start evening out this side of the skirt until we get a rectangular shape, something like this, and then we shall fold it over to meet this side, so that this side meets this side. So we're going to put it into practice so that it makes a lot of sense. Right now it's just a little bit sketchy, but I'm going to be explaining how to do each and everything. So let's get started. All right, so since I used so many colors for my skirt, for the demonstration purposes, I am going to just pick one color from the skirt so that we start demonstrating the stitch. And then later on, you will decide how many rows that you will do for the different colors. It's really up to you, because at some point I did 4 rows for some, I did 2 rows for some, I did 5 rows for some, depending on the availability of the different colors that I used for the skirt. So since this is very big and we may not be able to capture it on the screen, I am going to use this particular color that I used at this level to demonstrate the stitch, so that you can get it clearly. So you're going to get your 5mm crochet hook. I have some notes written down here and I'll be following them. So get your hook and your yarn, and for this yarn it's a DK weight yarn, so I don't have to double it. So you're going to start off with a slip knot. So for a slip knot, you're going to twist your yarn like this and then insert your yarn into that loop that you've created, and then yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through. So that is a slip knot. Then you're going to make a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have our 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook. So 4th chain from the hook, we don't count this as a loop, as a chain. So we just ignore this one on the hook. You're going to count from this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And into that 4th chain, you're going to yarn over. So we are placing a double crochet, and this double crochet is in the US terms. So yarn over, go into that 4th chain from the hook, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's a double crochet in the US terms. So you're going to yarn over, go into the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So we've just placed a double crochet into the next chain. And then you're going to place a double crochet into the next chain, which should be the last chain. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So this is row 1. This marks the end of row 1. Now we're going to go on to row 2. You're going to make a chain of 6, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook. So remember, we don't consider this as a chain. So you start with this one, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And into that 4th chain, you're going to just hold on to it, yarn over, go into the 4th chain from the hook, and place a double crochet, yarn over, go into the next chain and place a double crochet, and double crochet into the next chain. Just like that. And then you're going to turn your work over. So you're going to just turn your work like this, or you can decide to turn it like this, as long as it turns and your first double crochets are on this side of the hand. So just like that. And then you're going to skip over 3 stitches of this first group of 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. Skip over 3 stitches and into the space between the last double crochet and the chain 3, into that space here, you're going to place 1 slip stitch, just like that. and then you're going to make a chain of 3 and place 3 double crochets into the same space. So into this space, 1, 2, and 3. A few things that you have to note is we are creating groups of 4 double crochets because we are counting the first chain 3 as a double crochet and then the 3 double crochets. So the first row had a chain 3 and 3 double crochets, which was a total of 4 double crochets. Then row 2 has this group and this group. So it has 2 groups of 4 double crochets if we count the chain 3 as a double crochet. So let's go on to row 3. So row 3, you start off with a chain of 6. Go into the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th. 1, 2, 3, into the 4th, you're going to place a double crochet into the next, and double crochet into the next chain. So once you make it all the way down the chain, when the chain is done, you should be having a total of 3 double crochets and the chain 3 on the edge. So once you get to this point, you're going to turn your work so that the excess is on your right side, or the direction in which you crochet. So after this, after your 3 double crochets here, you're going to skip over 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and into the space between the last stitch and the chain 3, you're going to place a slip stitch. So insert your hook, pull over, and pull through all. Insert your hook and pull through all. That's a slip stitch. So remember, we've started row 3, and this is our very first group. Then you're going to chain 3, and into that same exact space, you're going to place 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, just like that. And after this, you're going to skip over 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and into the next space, you're going to place a slip stitch. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and place 3 double crochets into the same space. So this brings us to 3 groups of 4 double crochets, basically. So this is row 3, and we have 3 groups, and you can see our panel keeps on growing. So let's go on to row 4. Row 4 starts with a chain of 6, just like all the other rows have been starting. Make a chain of 6. Go into the 4th chain from the hook with a double crochet. Double crochet into the next 2 chains once. So 1 double crochet into the next chain and 1 double crochet into the next chain. So from here, you're going to turn your work so that the excess is in the direction that you crochet. And then from here, you're going to skip over 3 stitches, and into the next space, you're going to place a slip stitch, chain 3, 3 double crochets into the same space, skip over 3 stitches and slip stitch into the next space, and then chain 3 and 3 double crochets into the same exact space, skip over 3 stitches from the next group, and then into the next space you're going to place a slip stitch, chain 3, and place 3 double crochets into the same exact space. All right, so this marks the end of row 4, and you should have a total of 4 groups of 4 double crochets if we consider the chain 3 as a double crochet. So you should see your panel growing back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to do one more row, which is row 5, and then I'll explain a few things after that. So make a chain of 6, go into the 4th chain from the hook with a double crochet, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. Turn your work so that you're working in the direction in which you crochet. Skip over 3 stitches and slip stitch into the next space. Chain 3 and 3 double crochets into the same exact space. So you're going to repeat that all the way across. Skip 3 stitches, slip stitch into the next space, chain 3, 3 double crochets into the same space. So keep doing this until you're almost at the end of the row. So when you come to the end, towards the end, you will make a chain of 3 and place 3 double crochets into that last chain 3 space. Okay, so this is what your work will look like. You notice that your panel is growing both. Let's go back to the demonstration. We said this is the length of the skirt and this is the width of the skirt. Whichever you consider should be fine, because we should be having the same exact length on both ends. So you can see we have 4 inches approximately and approximately 4 inches on this side. So your panel should be growing the same exact length on both the base and the side. Ignore the diagonal bit. We are not considering this measurement. The measurements that we are considering are this one and this one. This side measurement and the base measurement. So whatever the measurement that you considered to be, let me say 40 inches for the hips, and then if, let me say 45 inches for the length. Whichever length is shorter than the other, that is the length that we are going to be considering first. So we're going to keep growing our panel until we get the shorter measurement. In this case, if we are considering 40 inches for the hip and then 45 inches for the length of the skirt, we're going to keep working until one of these sides, actually both of the sides, because they grow at the same exact pace, until these sides are both the shorter length that we are considering. And in this case, that's 40 inches. So now that we know how to work the stitch, I will be demonstrating how to switch colors in case you need to switch a color to the new color or to work fewer rows for your panel, for your rows, and then you need to switch a color to the next. All right, so for demonstration purposes, I'll still be using a plain color for the next color. So once you get to this point, let me say you want to switch a color. Instead of yarning over and pulling through the last part of the double crochet, you're going to get your next color. This is the color that I'll be using. It's the same exact brand as this one, and that is Marina. You're going to pull through the loop with the new color, and then you're going to make a chain of 6. First make a chain of 1 to fasten off the new color, and then make a chain of 6. And then you're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, and you're going to place a double crochet. So basically everything else remains the same. When you get your group of 4 double crochets, including the chain 3 as a stitch, you're going to skip over 1, 2, 3 stitches, and then into the next chain 3 space, you're going to place a slip stitch, just like we've been doing for the previous rows. Then you're going to make a chain of 3 and 3 double crochets into the same space. Skip over 3 stitches, slip stitch into the next space, chain 3, 3 double crochets into the same exact space, skip the 3 stitches on the next group and slip stitch into the next space. So you can see how everything is working out perfectly well. So if you're not sure of where to end your row, just remember every row, let me say this is row 6. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is row 6, and we should be having a total of 6 groups of 4 double crochets for row 6. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That means we have 2 more left. So chain 3, 3 double crochets into the same exact space, and then skip over 3 stitches of the next group, slip stitch into the next space, and then chain 3 and 3 more double crochets into the same exact space. So this is when you know that row 6 is done, by confirming that you have a total of 6 groups of 4 double crochets, including the chain 3 as a double crochet. That's when you know your row is done, and you're going to keep working back and forth until we get the length, our desired length of the 40 inches, and then I'll show you the demonstration using the actual skirt, and we shall see what to do from there. Alright guys, so after attaching your next color, you make sure you cut off the first color, and then from here you can make a knot. You can do a double knot so that your work doesn't unravel, and that's how to join the next color. So I'm going to keep working for a small demonstration, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. We shall be using this small sample at different points in the tutorial, just to demonstrate everything in frame, because our skirt is too huge, and if I use it to demonstrate, then you may miss out on the important points of this particular tutorial. So right now I'm going to switch colors to my next. Alright, so once you get your hip measurement, when you stretch one side of the, not the diagonal side, either the base or this side of the skirt, then we are going to start doing something different. We're going to stop increasing one side. So for example, this side, we're going to start creating a flat edge. We're going to stop going all the way up like this. So we're going to start creating a flat edge so that we can create a rectangular piece. But then at the same time, we are going to continue increasing this side so that we get the length of the skirt that we want. So if you haven't yet achieved the length of the skirt, then we are still increasing that length, but we are stopping to widen the skirt. So for this next row, I am placing my 3 double crochets into the chain 3 space here, and then I'll slip stitch into the space after these 3 double crochets. I'll just slip stitch here, and I won't wind up the same exact way because I am stopping to increase this side. So instead of chaining 3 and then 3 double crochets into the same space, I will just turn my work and slip stitch into each of the 3 double crochets that I just created. And then slip stitch into the space, the chain 3 space, just like that. And then I'll make a chain of 3 and 3 double crochets into the same space, and then slip stitch in the chain 3 space after skipping the 3 double crochets, just like that. And you can see the effect that that is creating. We are creating a flat edge on this side. So continue with the pattern all the way up, and I'll show you what to do at the end of the row. Everything else remains the same. The change comes in when we are changing the direction of the skirt. Alright guys, so this is back to the demonstration. As you can see, this side has flattened out and we are still continuing to lengthen the dress. So this side, we're still going to create a slip stitch into the chain 3 space and then make a chain 3 and place 3 more double crochets into the same space. So as you can see here, we're still creating more length on this side, but when it comes to this side, we have stopped increasing this length because now we've cut it off at this point. So this is the demonstration piece. So from here on this side, make sure you're continuing to grow it, but on this side we are still creating a flat edge. So since this side we are still growing, you make a chain of 6 just like we were doing for the previous rows in the beginning before we stopped increasing on one side. You're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet into the next chain, and 1 double crochet into the next chain. And then turn your work so that your panel is in the direction in which you crochet. Then slip stitch, skip over the 3 stitches and slip stitch into the chain 3 space, just like that. And then chain 3, 3 double crochets into the same chain 3 space, sorry. From here, skip over 3 stitches, slip stitch into the next chain 3 space, chain 3, 3 double crochets into the same chain 3 space. And then continue that until towards the end of the row, and I'll show you what to do from there. Right, so we're coming to the end of the row and I'm placing a slip stitch into the chain 3 space, and then I'm going to make a chain of 3 and 3 double crochets into the last chain 3 space, because at this point we are not going to place here, otherwise you'll be increasing. So you're going to place 1 slip stitch after skipping 3 stitches here. So 1 slip stitch there, and from here you're going to turn your work and slip stitch into each of the 3 double crochets, and then slip stitch into the chain 3 space, just like that. So you can see how we are maintaining the flat edge on the side of the skirt. So we are assuming that this length is our hip measurement, our hip circumference, which is meant to be 40 inches. So we're going to keep working until this length here is the second length that we were supposed to consider, which is supposed to be the length of the skirt. And for our sample, it was either 43 or 45 inches. So once you get 45 or 43 inches here, or whatever length of the skirt that you want, then we shall do something different. So let me just get through with this row and then I'll show you what to do. So from here, after making your slip stitches, you're going to make a chain of 3 and then double crochet 3 times into the same exact chain 3 space. Skip over 3 stitches, slip stitch into the chain 3 space, chain 3, and 3 more double crochets into the same space. So keep working until the end of your row. So I'm going to switch colors and I'll work a few more rows before we start balancing each side, straightening both sides. So we're coming to the end of this row, and you know exactly what to do. Since this side is now flat, you will just make a chain of 3, and all you have to do is just balance this length. So you place 3 more double crochets into the same exact space and slip stitch into the chain 3 space on top of the next group of 4 double crochets, and that's it. So let's go on to our next row. You're going to turn your work. Since we are no longer increasing, you're going to slip stitch in each of the next 3 double crochets and then slip stitch into the chain 3 space, just like that. So now we are assuming that we've gotten the length of the skirt that we need. So this is the row that you're going to follow. We already have the hip circumference here as this is a sample, don't forget. The hip circumference is here, and now we've gotten the length of the skirt that we want. So this new row is supposed to maintain the flat edge on this side and also stop increasing the length of the skirt so that we start moving towards this side. So you're going to make a chain of 3 and place 3 double crochets into the same exact space, slip stitch into the next chain 3 space, just like we've been doing before. So do that all the way across until towards the end of the row. So we're coming to the end of the row. You're going to stop increasing the length just like we stopped increasing the width of the skirt. So you're going to make a chain of 3 and place 3 double crochets into that second last chain 3 space. Remember, there's still that last chain 3 space on top of this, but this time we are not going to work it because we need to straighten out the length, the bottom edge of the skirt. So after your 3 double crochets here, you're going to skip over the 3 double crochets, and into the chain 3 space you're going to place a slip stitch, and you can see what that has created. This time we are not going to chain 3 and then 3 double crochets into the same, because that will mean you're still increasing the length of the skirt. So you're going to turn your work and you're going to slip stitch in each of the next 3 double crochets, slip stitch into the chain 3 space, just like that. And then we are going to make a chain of 3 and place 3 double crochets into the very first chain 3 space. So just like this, we've started leveling up the base of the skirt and stopped making it longer. So from here, skip 3 stitches, slip stitch into the chain 3 space, and then chain 3 double crochets into the same exact chain 3 space, slip stitch into the chain 3 space of the next group, chain 3 double crochets into the same chain 3 space. So basically we're doing the same exact thing for the middle part, but when it comes to the edges, make sure now you're leveling up each end. So our aim at this point is to create a rectangle, not a perfect rectangle, a rectangular shape. As you can see here, as we continue working, this is going to pull over to this side, and this will also be growing towards this point. This is an invisible point, but as you grow your piece, both sides are going to end up meeting at around this point. So alright guys, so after placing your last 3 double crochets, you are going to go into the next chain 3 space of the next group and place a slip stitch. So at this point I'm going to switch colors, and I show you how to do that when you reach these parts where we are leveling up. So let me say this is my very last row of green. I will chain 1 and cut my yarn. For this part, the attaching of the new color is totally different. So you're going to turn your work onto the opposite side like this, and then get your next color. Let me say your next color is this color here. So I'm going to just attach it into the chain 3 space of the first group here on top there. I will attach it there, and then make a chain of 3 and place 3 double crochets into the same exact space. So these tails that we've left behind, you can always weave them in using a darning needle at the end of your project. So from here, you're going to just repeat what we've been doing. Go ahead and work your pattern back and forth, making sure you're no longer increasing your pattern. And remember, the goal is now to make a rectangle. So this is what your work will look like. So keep working back and forth, and when you're running out of stitches, I will show you how to wind up. So I finished this row, and the moment you place a slip stitch, you turn your work and slip stitch in each of the 3 stitches, the 3 double crochets, then slip stitch into the chain 3 space, maintaining that flat edge. So from here, you make a chain of 3 and 3 more double crochets. So from now on, this is the beginning of each and every row, and each row ends and begins the same exact way. So repeat the same process, and I'll meet you back when you're running out of stitches. Alright guys, so as you keep working, you'll notice that your rows are getting shorter and shorter, and we are coming towards the end of our panel. And I'm still turning and slip stitching into the double crochet stitches until I slip stitch into the chain 3 space, and then chain 3 double crochets into the first chain 3 space, that same chain 3 space. like that. Then slip stitch into the next chain 3 space, and then chain 3 double crochets into the same chain 3 space, and then skip 3 stitches and slip stitch into the next chain 3 space. So you can see what this has created. And then we're going on to our very last row. At this point, when you have that little dent or that little space to be filled in, you're going to just turn your work just like you've been doing for the previous rows, and then slip stitch in each of the next 3 double crochets, and then slip stitch into the chain 3 space, then chain 3, and then you're going to go into that same chain 3 space with 3 double crochets, and then at this point you're going to skip over the 3 double crochets of this group and then slip stitch into the chain 3 space, just like that. And that winds up our panel. From here you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. So this marks the end of our little demonstration of the skirt. So basically you're going to have something that looks exactly like this, and this is going to be the length of the skirt. The longer side is the length of the skirt, and the shorter side, which is this one, is supposed to be the circumference of the hips. So what you're going to basically do, since this is a demonstration, you're going to fold over your work like this, and you're going to get a maxi skirt. So this is going to be like a tube-like structure where we're going to join the side on this side, leaving a slit on our skirt, an opening at the base of the skirt. We're going to join somewhere around here from the top all the way down, and then we shall work a waistband around the top opening of the skirt, and then here we shall have a slit and we shall get rid of all the loose ends. That's the deep explanation of the construction of the skirt. So let's go back to the actual skirt. Right, so this is the actual piece, and you can see how big it is. It can't be recorded on the screen because you won't be able to see everything in frame, but you're going to do as instructed until you get your desired size, and then you will have a big rectangle as you can see on the screen. Now from there you're going to fold your work into 2. Just fold it over like this, and we're going to join this side, and this is going to be the side where the slit is created eventually. So I'm going to use my black color and join from the top corner all the way down to 15 rows. If you want your coverage to be longer, you can increase the number of rows that you join, but for me I'll do 15 rows. So I'm going to join like this so that I can create the waist opening. So I'm going to go into the very first space and the first row on the other side, and we are attaching 3 stitches into the first row on the other side, just like that, 3 single crochets. Then from there you're going to put your tails aside and then go into the next space. So we are joining row to row. Just find the appropriate space where to insert your hook and attach your rows. And I am using a 3.75mm crochet hook to join, so that the stitches that join are not very tight, are not very loose, sorry. So go all the way down until you've joined a total of 15 rows. Alright, so when you get your desired number of rows joined here, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut off your yarn, leaving a tail behind. Then the next thing that you're going to do is to weave in all your tails, and then we shall see whether to attach a waistband or not. So this is the wrong side of the work where you have worked your single crochet stitch, and then when you turn it, you can see this opening. This opening is the slit of the skirt, and when you turn it to the right side, you should be having something that looks like this. It's much neater and more invisible on the right side. So we're now going to create a waistband using our 5mm crochet hook, the same exact hook that we used for the body of the skirt. And you're going to just attach your yarn in any row. And then you're going to make a chain of 3, 2 more double crochets into the same exact row to make a total of 3 double crochets. I'm sorry for using black, but I will be giving the instructions clearly. So from here, you're going to go in this space before the 3 double crochets and place a double crochet there. Go into the space between the next 2 double crochets and place a double crochet there. And then in the space between the next 2 double crochets and place a double crochet there. And then after the 3 double crochets, you're going to go into the next space with 1 double crochet. Then from there, you go into the next row with 3 double crochets. Then repeat the same exact process all the way around. So this is going to create the waistband, and you can make it using any color of your choice from the colors that you've used to make the skirt. Right now we've made it all the way around the waistband, and I'm placing my last double crochet, and this is what you'll have. And from here you're going to make a slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 of the round. Now we're going on to round 2. You're going to make a chain of 3 and make a front post double crochet into the next stitch. Then a back post double crochet into the next stitch, and we are going to repeat that all the way around, alternating between the front post double crochet and the back post double crochet all the way around your skirt. So repeat that, and this is going to start creating a ribbing around the waistband of your skirt. So we've made it all the way around, and we are doing the final stitches of front post, back post double crochet. And I've ended with the back post double crochet into the very final stitch. And then from here, you're going to go into the top of the first chain 3 and place a slip stitch. Then after this, you're going to make a chain of 3 and make a front post double crochet in each front post double crochet and a back post double crochet in each back post double crochet. This is going to be the final round, so just keep alternating between the front and back post double crochet around until you make it to the beginning of the round. So we are coming to the end of the 3rd round of the waistband. And and I'm placing a back post double crochet in the back post double crochet, and then slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3, chain 1, and cut your yarn, then pull through. After that, you're going to cut off the excess yarn. So go ahead and weave in all these tails, get rid of all the loose strands on the skirt, and we shall go on to the next step. So after weaving in all your tails and making the drawstring, I have one more tail to weave in here. Now you're going to get your drawstring and place your work in a way that this seam line that we created while joining the two panels is almost at the front of the skirt, not in the middle, but on one side where you want your slit to be placed. And now you're going to thread your drawstring into the darning needle and locate the exact middle of the skirt. So the exact middle of the skirt is not going to be at the seam line. It's going to be somewhere around here, and you're going to go in and out of every 2 stitches of the second round of the waistband, which is the middle round of the waistband, and you're going to thread with your drawstring in and out of every 2 stitches all the way around. So when you make it all the way around, you're going to remove your drawstring and make sure that 2 tails are almost balanced, and this is going to be the front side of your skirt, just like that. And then you're going to cut off the excess yarn of the drawstring, and you can go ahead and attach tassels or beads at the end of the drawstring. Then from here, you're just going to tie a knot. This drawstring is going to adjust the waistband to either be thinner or wider when wearing the skirt. So just make a knot, and that marks the end of today's video. I'll be showing you the final results in a bit.